now on TV6 News.
Coming up on Quad Cities today at 11, we head to a local farm where recent bitter cold temperatures are posing a problem for area farmers. Plus, a head-to-head showdown between former President Donald Trump and Nikki Haley. Coming up, a look at where the race stands ahead of the New Hampshire primaries.
You're watching KWQC-TV6, Davenport, the station that cares for you. Live from the Quad Cities' #1 station for news. This is KWQC-TV6 Quad Cities today at 11.
First Alert weather tops your news at 11 after a round of freezing rain, sleet, and a wintry mix, creating some slick spots earlier this morning. Thanks so much for joining us for Quad Cities today at 11. A little bit of a new look here at TV6. Yeah. I'm Kyle Keel along with Teresa Bryant. So our stretch of wintry weather continues. Another First Alert day.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely some tough spots this morning, right?
Yeah, instead of sub-zero temperatures, now we're dealing with freezing precipitation across the region. So again, First Alert weather day
Pick your poison.
In effect. Yeah, indeed. And right now, looking at some rain and freezing rain and sleet moving through our area. And that First Alert day continues until Tuesday morning, where we will see that wintry mix moving through parts of our viewing area. And again, we are looking at the chance for some slippery spots on area roadways. As you can see, some spots almost partially covered around the Quad Cities area. So we are seeing a few improvements there. And right now, traffic moving smoothly, but you do see a few slick spots on area roads. So exercise caution, slow it down just a little bit. Visibility improving as well, but still a little iffy to the south and east. We're looking at temperatures right around the freezing mark now. 32 in Muscatine and Rock Falls, 31 in Moline and Davenport, 29 in Dubuque, 31 in Macomb. Winds moving out of the south at about 10 to 20 miles per hour. And those feels-like temperatures dipping down to right around the 20-degree mark for many locations. So we are going to be seeing a bit more of that freezing precipitation before it all comes to an end early this afternoon. Most of that will be out of here. We'll see a brief break in the action before we see more in the way of mixed precipitation, some rain, some snow, some ice moving through the region late tonight into early Tuesday. Here's a look at your planner. Temperatures hovering right around the freezing mark during the day.
And because of the road conditions earlier this morning, we did receive several closings and delays from schools and businesses. You can head to our website, KWQC.com, or you can head to our news app to get a list of those delays. They will be updated as those come in. Well, the extremely cold temperatures that we've dealt with over the last week can be hard on those who work outdoors, especially our local farmers. Randy Hamilton of Princeton, Iowa, is a cattle farmer who has been dealing with this line of work his entire life. He said that his prep work can be tough, but it is important to stay ahead of the game and always be prepared, because if you're not, he says things could get messy.
If you're not, you're in a real big hurt. You know, your waters will be froze. I mean, livestock's out of feed. You just have a mess if you're not prepared at all. But most farmers do prepare, so they are adequately adjusted to this weather anyway.
Hamilton also mentioned when it comes to taking care of his cattle, they can handle the cold as well, but it's important to keep them out of the wind and keep them dry. And while there are no immediate concerns of ice jams locally, a Chicago area ice jam is causing flooding concerns along the Kankakee River. Reporter Lexi Suter caught up with people living along the river who have concerns heading into the warmer temperatures.
After days of snow, ice, and brutally cold air.
Very cold, very cold.
Residents in Kankakee fear the worst is still to come because warmer weather is on the way.
Going from below to 40, that's a big concern.
We was just concerned with the river being up so high. We was just driving past it. And so when it started thawing out, would it affect our sewage system and flood our homes out? So that was one of our big concerns.
A river flood watch is already in effect here in Kankakee, and you can see the river for yourself. The water is high, and it's covered in snow and large chunks of ice. Now, according to our NBC5 meteorologist, the biggest risk for flooding will come later this week.
With this sudden warm-up, I'm thinking about it. I'm sure everybody around here is thinking about it.
About 20 miles away in Wilmington, Will County officials have opened warm water siphons into the river to accelerate the melting of the ice. Officials say conditions are improving, but residents along the river should remain prepared and cautious. So far, no evacuation orders have been issued.
Hopefully, who's ever in control of it, they're doing what they got to do, taking care of their business, keeping it safe for everybody, community.
For now, residents say all they can do is wait and see.
The thing is, that's the big thing. Where is it going to go? So that's our big concern.
Back here at home with the above freezing temperatures in our area and the incoming rain, our snowpack will begin to melt. However, right now it does appear that snow melt will be a little slower. So at this time, ice jams and river flooding potential is low. But regardless, you can always keep track of river levels and the forecast on our website. Just head to the weather page at KWQC.com and click on river levels. In local politics, Rock Island Mayor Mike Tomes is delivering his State of the City address. And Mayor Tomes is highlighting accomplishments from the past year and sharing plans on what's to come in 2024. The event began at 10 o'clock this morning at Bally's Casino. We will have more from the mayor coming up on your TV6 News this evening. And tomorrow, Moline City Council will be voting on a resolution to fill the vacancy of the 6th Ward Alderman. The seat was left open after Alderman Pat O'Brien passed away last month. The resolution would authorize Mayor Sangeetha Rayapati to appoint Daniel McNeil to the position. McNeil is the executive director of Spring Forward, a nonprofit after-school program. He's also worked with River Action in the Putnam and Figge museums. Now to Decision 2024 coverage. In a surprise move over the weekend, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has ended his bid for the White House, leaving former President Donald Trump and former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley, to be the leading Republicans battling for the GOP nomination. DeSantis' decision comes just days before the New Hampshire primary. NBC's Bree Jackson has the latest from New Hampshire.
After his much-anticipated presidential campaign failed to gain steam, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis dropped out of the 2024 presidential race, making the announcement in this video posted on X.
We don't have a clear path to victory.
DeSantis was once seen as the most formidable opponent to former President Trump, who he's now endorsing.
It's clear to me that a majority of Republican primary voters want to give Donald Trump another chance.
Trump's campaign is using DeSantis' exit to focus attacks on former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley just days before Tuesday's New Hampshire primary.
As you know, here in New Hampshire, Nikki Haley has made an unholy alliance with rhinos, never-Trumpers.
Haley is not backing down, saying this is the GOP matchup that she's been fighting for.
Can you hear that sound? That's the sound of a two-person race.
With DeSantis out, some in the Granite State are even less enthused about the limited options of presidential candidates.
I still believe that democracy reigns, and so I would like to have seen him stay in just to give the American electorate some choice.
Others say they already had their mind made up.
I think Ron DeSantis is where he belongs as governor in Florida.
Trump is pushing to secure the GOP nomination with a win in the first-in-the-nation primary. Haley hopes to sway enough voters to close the gap between her and the former president. In Manchester, New Hampshire, Bree Jackson, NBC News.
Coming up on Quad Cities today at 11, pack your bags. Airline and travel prices are dropping. We'll talk about why prices are going down and the best time to book a flight next.
watching TV6 News.
Does a vacation to somewhere warm sound good right about now? Well, there is some good news for those of you looking to pack your bags in 2024. Airline ticket prices are expected to fall for the first time in years, at least for travel within the U.S. Reporter Emily Akeda tells us what to know about air travel and how to book your flight on a budget.
After years of soaring airline prices, some relief on the horizon for travelers.
There are some insane flight deals going on.
The travel website Kayak estimates domestic airfare will be 16% cheaper this year compared to 2023.
Outside of the pandemic, we haven't really seen these prices since about 2009. And when you adjust for inflation, it's about 40% cheaper than it was a decade ago.
The biggest reasons: airlines increasing capacity, lower jet fuel prices, and competition between carriers.
Airlines have been able to add to their schedules. There's more capacity, more seats available for people to purchase.
Carriers scrambling to meet demand after prices hit record highs in 2022, and customer frustration reached new heights too.
The cost of flights is just kind of getting out of hand.
Airfare to international destinations remains high overall, up 10% in 2024 compared to last year, according to Kayak. But not if you know where to go. Airfare to Mexico and Central America has actually dropped by 10% from this time last year. But caution, just because average prices are dropping doesn't mean you're guaranteed a deal. It's all about knowing when to look. The travel app Hopper says it expects fares to start rising into late spring as spring break and summer travel kick into high gear. So if you're eyeing a spring break getaway, now is the time to start searching.
For those of us that are considering booking spring break, now is a really great time to do so. And you don't want to wait. We're sort of getting to our edges of our Goldilocks window when it comes to booking your flights.
That Goldilocks window, not too early or too late, is about 21 to 60 days before your trip. Use price tracking apps like Hopper, Skyscanner, and Google Flights to set up price alerts. And keep those alerts on even after you've booked. So if the price drops further, you can rebook and get travel credits for the difference.
We are definitely back in the age of cheap flights.
Coming up on Quad Cities today at 11, not only did the Hawkeye women's basketball team lose last night, but this happened after the game. Details on this trending story and more when we come back. But first, Teresa Bryant has a look at our first alert forecast, which does include a little more wintry weather here heading into your Tuesday.
And now your first alert forecast with Teresa Bryant.
And some of us had to chisel our cars out of the ice this morning. We saw not only rain, but freezing rain, sleet, and snow moving through the area this morning. Now tracking off to the east, but there's more to come. And right now, road conditions not too bad. They were a little bit worse for the wear earlier this morning, but now starting to see some of those roads clearing up, some partially covered. So do exercise caution as we take a look at our traffic cameras. Most of our traffic cameras showing that traffic is moving smoothly, a little bit slowly. And if you are planning travel today, do exercise caution. As I mentioned, we will see more of the same headed our way later tonight and into tomorrow. Right now in the Quad Cities area, we've got a reading of 31 degrees, winds moving out of the south at about 15 miles per hour. Temperatures around the region ranging from 28 degrees in Galena to a reading of 32 in Rock Falls and Princeton, 32 degrees in Muscatine, Washington, and Mount Pleasant, 31 in Macomb. Winds still moving out of the south at about 10 to 20 miles per hour. That does create a bit of a wind chill. Feels like 18 degrees in Dubuque, feels like 20 in Clinton, 22 in Kewaunee, 22 degrees in the Mount Pleasant area. But at least we're talking wind chills above zero for a change. As we take a look at our radar, you will see the bulk of that freezing precipitation has now tracked off to the east. Still seeing a little bit off to our west, expected to move through fairly quickly, and we are expecting to see more of the same later on tonight. And let's take a look at what's going on. Cloudy skies expected through the rest of this afternoon and into early evening, and then we see rain moving into our weather picture, and that rain changing over or becoming mixed with some freezing precipitation and then snow through early tomorrow morning. We expect to see most of the accumulated snow in some of the northern portions of our viewing area coming to an end by late morning, early afternoon. After that, cloudy skies left behind, but boy, we do expect to see some rainfall out there, generally ranging from around a quarter to as much as an inch of rain. But again, something that we will be keeping an eye on over the course of the next 24 hours. And also some patchy areas of glaze out there as well. So a winter storm advisory has been posted for our area until 10 a.m. Tuesday. Let's take a look at what we expect to see. Temperatures remaining nearly steady in the 30s, right around 32 degrees. And we're back in the 30s again tomorrow with that wintry mix, but mostly a rain event for Wednesday into Thursday. And we are expecting to see some scattered cloud cover moving through our region for the rest of the work week. It also looks like we'll see a little bit of a warm up there too. Very nice to see, finally, temperatures in the 30s, isn't it?
I mean, 30s have never felt better after that stretch of below zero wind chills.
I know what you're saying, yeah.
All right, well, let's talk about what's trending here today, and it's a story that's got Hawkeye fans talking, maybe not for the best reasons. Moments after the Ohio State University women upset Iowa in Sunday's basketball game, there was a scary moment for All-Star Caitlin Clark. Let's take a look at this video. It was just a moment you'll see that Caitlin Clark was running when the Ohio State fan rushing the court runs into her. The game was played in Columbus, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Clark scored 45 points during the game, but the number 2 ranked Hawkeyes lost to the 18th ranked Buckeyes 100-92. Clark said afterwards she had the wind knocked out of her, but she's okay.
Oh, good.
Ohio State's athletic director apologized to Clark for the incident. Ooh, you know, that's the tricky thing. I know, fans get really excited, but you can't just run out there without knowing where you're going. And,
sometimes the emotion just takes over, and things like this can happen. But luckily, Clark is okay, and sounds like everything's been smoothed over.
Yeah, hope so.
That's good. All right.
Well, here's a cure for your winter blues.
Yes.
Tomorrow is National Pie Day.
One of them, at least.
Yeah, well, whether you buy it or bake it, it's time to slice it up and devour one of the nation's favorite desserts. In fact, people love pie so much that it is celebrated twice a year. The pie celebration on January 23rd is the first observance of the year. The second is in December.
And the third is March 14th, 3.14. Pi
oh,
Day,
yeah,
PI.
that's right.
Yes, the mathematical constant. Well, whether it's apple, blueberry, lemon meringue, or pecan, with so many flavors to choose from, you shouldn't have a problem finding one you like. And of course, as with everything, you got to post it to social media. You can use the hashtag National Pie Day.
What's your favorite?
Oh gosh, I love a good pumpkin pie. Second, close second would be apple pie with some whipped cream on top. Plenty of whipped cream. What's yours?
Oh, I love French silk pies.
Oh, you know what? That's number 3 for me.
Okay. Yeah, I love French silk pies.
Oh.
Any kind of pie is pretty good.
Yeah. Yummy. Now I'm hungry. Well, speaking of hunger, coming up next on Quad Cities Day 11, we're going to talk about different types of winter precipitation using donuts. I'll explain next in Kyle's Weather Classroom. Using
You're watching TV6 News.
Over the past several days, you've heard the First Alert Weather Team talking about this big warm-up and then leading into that warm-up, that potential of freezing rain and sleet. That's exactly what we saw overnight. So we're going to answer the question we get a lot of times during the winter months. What is the difference between freezing rain and sleet? So for that, we've got the precipitation types here on the board. And of course, we've told you many times before that all precipitation way up in the cloud starts off as snow because we've got those colder temperatures aloft. So it's easy to understand that if the whole column of air is at or below 32 degrees, we're going to get snow. And if it's cold enough and heavy enough, that snow is going to start to accumulate on the ground. On the opposite end of the spectrum, we get through that layer of cold air. We get temperatures above 32 degrees all the way to the surface. That snow melts into rain, and it's just plain old rain. But it does get a little tricky when we get layers of air above us that do go above or below 32 degrees or bounce back and forth. That's where we do get the precipitation types of freezing rain or sleet. So freezing rain, notice once we get through that cold air or temperatures below 32 degrees, we get into a very deep layer of warm air. But you get to the surface, I mean, we have to think temperatures are below freezing at the surface because we have 10 to 12 plus inches of snow on the ground. That's where that rain doesn't have time to switch over to ice pellets or snow, so it actually freezes on contact, and that can obviously create dangerous conditions. We did see those slick spots a little bit earlier this morning. Now, as far as sleet goes, we've got a shallower layer of warmer air aloft falling through a deeper layer of cold air so that rain actually has time to kind of start to transition over to snow, and actually ends up as ice pellets, and that's where we get sleet. So to kind of better understand this, we're just going to do a simple explanation here using a favorite breakfast treat of mine, and probably many of you out there as well. We're going to talk about donuts. We've got a glazed donut here and a sprinkled iced donut right here. So let's think of the glazed donut as freezing rain, where the freezing rain actually leaves a glaze of ice. Obviously can create some very treacherous travel conditions, even if it's just a glaze. Sometimes we do get up to 1/10 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch of ice, which can lead to other issues such as power outages and other accidents along the road. And then we can think of the sprinkles as ice pellets or sleet. They do create a little more traction. I would call it a little bit better than ice. However, both do create very dangerous conditions on the roads, although they are a little bit better as far as your taste buds go.
Get your First Alert forecast on the go on US 104.9 in the morning.
When students who leave the PN program come back in the RN program, they pull us aside and they're like, you know, all those things you taught me in SimLab? Well, it's like that in real life. And I'm like, yes, that's why we do it, right? We prepare you for real life and give you that experience so that you can kind of see where it makes a connection.
All right, well, that's all the time we have for Quad Cities Today at 11. Thanks so much for watching. Your local news at noon will come up in a half hour, but Investigate TV Plus is coming up next. Have a great day.